Ooh.
Jay is less.
It is recording now. Hello, we're being recorded. All right, so much for the formalities.
Wow.
Present are David Michael Tice, Chris Henry.
Save. Yes. I'll just save it as untitled. I think they need that still. And don't know what that is.
Echo.
This is something I could have done before I started recording. Lessons learned. All right. So let's take a look at this lovely Bash program that Bash script that Henry has completely fixed for us.
Also, I remember a little demo with Gut. I figured out what the problem was.
Yeah?
It's not the problem with my program. My program was working perfectly.
Of course it was.
If you use word count, WC, it doesn't, by default, it doesn't count blank lines. So I wasn't getting the right.
Oh.
I wasn't getting the result I expected.
So it was got that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Nice.
stepped back to my code like 5 times. So it's something wrong. So yeah, you have there's another flag you have to add that makes it count all the lines, including the empty lines. So the SSH config file has a bunch of empty lines in it, which offset my count by like 5 or 10. So
Good test. Then if you were promoting that to production someplace or putting it on GitHub, you'd capture that in a test, right? And you'd say, here's a file with and without blank lines, and 1 blank line, 5 blank lines, or whatever, right? And you'd wait for your next contributor to break the test and you'd send the PR back. So the first important change here is that I did put, for the buggy one, I did put the messages back to English.
Thank you.
Did you get to see the special version I had with, okay. Yeah, I called that language Mashburger. I don't know why. But as soon as I said it once, that, the decision had been made, so this one's a little buggy. I couldn't put all the bugs I wanted to in one version of the script because I had conflicting bugs in mind. So I put a bug list in here though, didn't I? There we go. So
we were supposed to fix this one.
well, you could, you went for the other one. So this is what I thought we'd talk about today. But Henry, I want to see. Yeah, so let's do this second. I thought maybe you saw this one. So
I look at them both. I kind of just branched off.
So you did. Let's see. I want to see. So I thought maybe you did this, and I was going to let you show this, but you did the other one. So let's let you show the other one. And Michael, you had a nice Christmas, and you're real tired from driving back and forth, and you've been taking opera-long lessons. And did you do any of this?
So I watched the video, but
Okay. Well, thanks for doing that. Yeah, this is an above average participation week. So, sorry, I just misunderstood, Henry. So I will go ahead and stop this share. Actually, I don't know if I have the settings on so we can have multiple shares or not.
Maybe. I'm touching up the vowel section. Maybe that section marks just fine.
We'll do it on the screen, man. Code pairing is something. Huh?
Pair coding or code pairing?
Code pairing is, we call it pairing, so it's.
All right.
So you can call it whatever you want as long as the word pairing's in it. But it's something that can be embarrassing, but you have to get over it because it is so useful. And also asking people to review your code is the world's most magic way to get the bug to go away. Or to see it. Like, I've looked at this for an hour and a half, and oh, never mind, I missed a semicolon, you know, it's like,
And then my,
as soon as you start to explain it to somebody, sometimes it's like, I checked this and I checked that and I checked, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't check this, did I? Cause you're trying to explain it to somebody else.
right,
Anywho, alright,
and. Alright, well, do you wanna see the result first, or
sure.
that's under,
Did you just switch to this prompt? Cause I just switched to this prompt.
what?
Oh, you're probably running Kali.
This is
Never mind.
Cali,
Yeah, I switched to the Kali prompt this week because mine was really big and
my,
impossible to copy. It had all these escapes in it and stuff.
yeah. Do like 20. Alright.
Beautiful.
Alright.
Shit's free.
Yes, name is not that hard to do, search for bash, search results, bash, search for B, all the files with B in it, search for .junk, all your .junk files. The one that took me the longest though is name length, sorted from largest to smallest.
Alright,
Third one I'm still working on.
okay.
But I'd like to see you. I stole the select options thing. That's about it. It runs an ls, puts all the file names into a list, and I convert that, or it puts into a string, I think, so I convert that string to an array.
Right, because bare ls just spits out names, right?
Right. Yep. And I go through, so this is the first thing, it's just looking for this. You said you in one, in the second file, you had said make it so that if ls errors out, check for that. So if you search for search name, it doesn't return anything. I handled the error, say no results. So I'd say, so just assigning output to ls filter redirect standard error to null. All the way down here, check to see whether or not, because this will break after ls, and I just check to see if it ran without, because ls, if it doesn't return anything, will return an error other than zero, return a code other than zero. So then I tell it just no results if it doesn't find anything. That's the end of it.
You used it, right?
And name length, basically just loop through all the file names. Loop through all of them. It's kind of like a sorting algorithm. Loop through all of them, find the longest one, then print it, then remove it, and then loop through again, find the next largest one, then just print it. So I'm not handling more arrays, just spit it out, standard out. And then what I'm working on next is just the same thing, except I have another for loop. I'm just gonna loop through and attempt to use some regex magic to see whether or not this, see whether or not that character is a vowel or not. And then if true, add it to the count. And then whatever has the largest count at the end of the loop, spit it out, remove it from the array.
It works.
I wish if you do unset, I have it here. I ran into an infinite loop error. So you have to set your element count ahead of time. Because if you do unset, it doesn't cascade the array. So you'll have elements 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you remove element 3, it's just null. But you still have to loop all the way up to that fourth element, even if it's nothing. So I was condensing the count, so it was an element at 5, and I was looping up into the count of elements, which was 3. So it kept going around. So if you spit out all the elements,
Uh-huh.
5 elements, right? And so you can say, just give me all the elements, which is right. Let's see.
Family array at.
Yeah, value array at. Basically, you say give it all the elements. So if you loop for the length of the array, it'll
Right.
say up through 5. And then, but if the largest one is in position 4, it'll unset that one. Now the length of the array is 4, but you still have something in place 5. So you have to have a static element count at the top that's aside from the loop.
There's still something in place 5.
There's still something in place 5. So then
So you unset. So if the index is like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
permission to use the whiteboard?
Absolutely. By the way, there are arrays in Bash. We didn't talk about this. That's all you need to know at this point.
So
I actually have a comment in my script that says the best way to do this is with arrays, and we won't talk about this just yet.
L.
Okay.
Do that part. I'd said 5 originally.
Yeah. Oh, and I said 0, 1, 2, 3. I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
L,
Easily.
M, and O. Alright, what I was saying is if you have, let's say this one's so you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. So if you say for I in range length of the array, right, you just do normal for loop like you normally would, it'll go through and it'll say, okay, this is the largest one. I'll remove. But with your for loop, you were looping up to this point, right?
Right.
But now,
Oh.
since this is empty,
Uh-huh.
it's gonna start looping up. When the for loop goes again, it's gonna go back, loops up till this point.
But that's still there.
But, and every time you call length of the array, it's gonna include this element, but you're not looping up. You're only
Oh, I
looping
see.
this far. So I was getting into.
So you didn't remove the
So
element.
you
You kind of
the way
rolled
you
it out or
put it
something.
there, it's null. Basically, you can't, Bash doesn't really have an element, like a remove element, usually it's not that I can find. It's just, you just do unset, so that if you do a length, it takes away the length, it's basically just null.
Hmm.
So you have to have a constant here, and then you just loop through, and I say while, give me all the elements is a valid string, not empty, looping. So I kept running into an infinite loop, where I would have
That makes sense.
My
now. Thanks.
my one test case was everything else was null. But the length was 1, so it kept looping to 1, 1, 1, 1, and I had an element all the way number 5. It was I don't know, I thought that was interesting.
It
That
is.
was one of the more interesting bugs. Let's see.
Oh. No, that was the question. Not the answer.
So I just have the element count up here, and then while giving me all the items is a valid string. Loop through the element counts.
Oh, wow. It's,
You looking at my code or the news?
No, I'm looking at Stack Overflow. It's a really interesting question. But somebody's got a potential answer, but I'm not gonna read all the way through it, but I'll look at it later. I'll leave it up, maybe post it. So, and for Michael and everybody's benefit at home, these arrays are specific to Bash. So if you switch to Fish or any other Linux shell, Python's a full-blown
Right.
language, but or it's not a shell, right? Exactly.
Right.
Those other shells will not have the same array implementation necessarily. I don't know if any of them have the same implementation, but it turns out that these arrays, you can use them to force the select menu to have phrases with spaces in them. Because you make an array and then you say select for the options.
Yeah.
You can use the array for the options somehow. I think it might be really easy. So it might be as much as select opt-in array. And but then I backed that out of my code. It's like we're gonna have a lot to talk about. I don't need to talk about that.
Right.
So cool. But you're getting there. And I took a considerably different approach. So this is kind of this is very much in the spirit of what we were talking about, right? Using this programming language because you got the looping and everything.
Right.
And what I've done, let me do this if I can.
If you want me to stop sharing.
Well, let me share. Okay. But yeah, if you stop sharing, it'll show up on the. Yep. Thanks. What I did is going to look a little bit different. So I think I put a text version up, and then I thought, every week Axel's making all these markdown notes, and here I put a table of. I actually had a text space delimited, thing so it would line up of this, and I'm like, I think Markdown can handle tables. I should redo this. So this is all of the bash functionality I used, including the bash commands like sort, grep, find.
Does sort have a length?
I'll,
I tried to see if sort would just take file length as a parameter. That was my first.
Yeah. So, but the problem is I'm not sure how many. This gets tricky because I'm on Windows, and it's gonna return more than we want, but I think this is right. CompGen is the thing that works for autocomplete. It says, what can I type right now? -C is for commands. It's gonna return something. So there's the problem is that it's gonna return DLLs and .exes because it's in Windows, but.
To use grep.
Yeah, but you were focused on the right task, right? You were focusing on learning how to code something in the shell that maybe you hadn't before. So I even included equality. This is an assignment operator, right? So I assign variables. Base name is okay, forget that. Oh, great. Don't forget that, ignore it. Okay, come over here. Base name is, let me see, echo.
Missing opera brand.
So that's my home. So there's a file in your home directory if it's present that it will run every time you start a shell. And this is its name. I've got mine redirected to a .files collection. So this is what I'm after. Whoops, did I miss it? There we go. That's the name of the file. There are a couple nifty shell commands. One is called I forgot its name. One is called base name, and my paste isn't working, so I'll have to right click. And base name returns just the file name, right? And correspondingly, dir name returns just the directory name. So that's handy to split those guys in half. The problem, of course, is that here we go. So it's got lots of Windows stuff in here, right? This is like every command name. It's almost all Windows stuff. Where's it? And it, of course, didn't fit. And so I'm not sure how to tell it to just return the Linux stuff. The best way to do this would be to open a VM But there's a lot. This is totally not a good way to illustrate this, but there's a lot of these commands. I guess I could wonder if this will work.
Danger.
Something that ends with a letter. Well, that won't work. The all in letters. Something that doesn't have a dot. I don't want to think about it. Something that doesn't have a dot would work. Wait, I've inspired myself. So any number of things that are not a dot. So the thing in the brackets is called I don't know what it is. You put a list of things in there and you're looking for something that matches whatever's inside the square brackets. But a caret negates it. So I'm looking for anything that's not a dot. The plus sign is better than the splat. Plus sign means I need multiple of these. And then the dollar sign says, then that's going to be the end of the string, and I should probably do this. That's the beginning of the string. So now I'm saying that the whole string has to be not dots.
Projects 5 minutes.
That's not possible. The physics teacher might have taught me enough trig to get by for one problem in 15, but it took me a long time to learn regex. And I obviously can't do it so well when I'm talking, but okay, it's on its way. So I used base name for when I had a file name, and I just wanted to split it down to the file name. And the reason for this, I used find, and find was returning /file name. I didn't want to count that, and I didn't want to be hokey and just subtract 2. So I just want the file name. Break was to get out of loops unconditionally. Column, I didn't know about this command until recently. I don't know if this made the video, but column, I think I put it in the video with using password as an example, the Etsy password command or file. Etsy password looks like this, right? And it's a bunch of, I think in the video I said what the columns are, but it's colon delimited, right? Each column or each field rather is colon delimited.
Right.
The column command lets you say, I want a little table, and the separator is the colon. Then you get out this. That's spiffy. I saw this on Stack Overflow or something a couple weeks ago. So I used this to make display that I chose to show the 3 things we were sorting on, made it easy to check. So that's column. Echo, we know what echo's about. Exit unconditionally exits the script. You can give it an error code. Find, to find the files. I didn't use ls, I mentioned this a couple times. It doesn't have guaranteed output. ls without any parameters on every distribution I know of will just spit out file names. But are they always separated by the same thing? I don't know. It's generally like, it's idiomatic to not use ls in scripts, and that you will get your hand slapped on Stack Overflow because people are trying to help you. It's not quite as snotty as how often they say, oh, you used cat and you didn't have to. You'll always get your hand slapped for that. I just used cat and I didn't have to.
Yeah, it's a different way. Maybe you could have done that.
But I think I said someplace it's fine. We're learning. I'm gonna mention it, but I'm not gonna say it's wrong. I used grep to find the vowels. Show me daisies I used. And then, and off the top of my head, I do remember how I did this. I'll show you. But I used grep to find the vowels and WC to word count to count them. I had to ask grep to find them in a specific way so that word count would count. It let me be lazy, and I liked that. Conditional logic with the if family of keywords. Make temp to get myself a temp table or temp file, and rm to delete it later. Read what we call the Tristan. What'd you say? The input. The select loop. Sort is the command I use to display everything, although then after I sort it, it goes through column to look nicer. WC we mentioned, and while loop. I put mine in an infinite loop, right? And let's see. Let's see how this thing's doing. That totally failed. Okay, moving on. Wonder if dot has to be escaped in there. Shouldn't. As far as I know. That'll also fail if I'm correct. So this is
Well, you did grep-v instead of grep-e. Is that,
E is in it extended regex.
we did v, not e.
I did V. Yeah, thanks.
Is it?
V is gonna be, oh, come on, CompGen takes forever. Yeah, if we search it, V is gonna be an easier way to find it, right? Just find stuff without dots. A lot simpler regex. So let's clear this. I think I have links in my temp directory, yeah, to both scripts. So let's run the one that works. And the way the day is playing out, maybe we'll look at the one that works first. And at the code, I mean. So bash is fun. Sorry, Dan. Got the apology in there for you, Dan. Is sorry on me too. I had to focus to read these in the video. What string with which filtering the files is directory and type?
I'm glad you've come to visit for it. And is sorry I am you too.
Mashburger, baby. You need a translation? I'm your guy. Gonna lobby for it to get into Google Translate. Gonna fail.
We can jive.
Yeah. Airplane?
Yeah.
So in this folder, it just happens that the text files are a good test case.
Switch field you data by sorting the files in the screen onto be wanting to be. Tell.
That's a good clarifying direction, right? Type, tell.
That's how you fix that.
Yeah. So, and this is how I used that column command. I just hard coded this, and I put the same delimiters in between, and then column knew where to put them. It was great. So, I put file name delimiter, file name length delimiter, file name vol count as the end of the line. I put some dashes, the right length delimiter, more dashes, delimiter, dashes, and I ran those through the column command at the same time I ran the rest of the data, and it just worked. It was awesome. So made it look like, and I might remind you, I've spent my career trying very hard not to make things that look nice. So anyway.
This is just a really big attempt to avoid writing any policy and procedure.
Those can look nice. Actually, I'm writing some documentations. I've meant to put something with an uppercase letter in here. Where do I do that now? Touch has to have a txt in it, so it has to come in that range of letters. So txt, how to do it. So do that. We'll look for the filter txt. We'll go our file name, and I just wanted to point out, that in case-sensitive file systems, based on anything other than EPSIDIC, may it rest in peace, which was IBM's collation and still has some legs, still is being used, I think. The uppercase letters come first, which just kind of bent my mind a little bit the first time I saw it. So if you haven't seen it, that's just the messenger. But yeah, the digits are before the uppercase, and uppercase comes before lowercase, so that all looks believable. Tell it I want to go again. And of course, I just did that for convenience, right? It's like I kind of got tired of hitting up arrow and enter all the time. So I reduced my keystrokes by 1. So I could just hit 1 and enter. I didn't reduce my keystrokes at all. It feels better though. Same text string, txt, and we'll just go down the list, sort by file name length. And I really like this one because it's like ski slope over here, right? And I first thought of Wile E. Coyote, like come here, whoa! And then I thought, no, he'd be over here on this one. Oh, punk, come right off the sheer precipice, right? And this was one where I noticed at first they were wrong because I had ./1.txt, and if you say, oh yeah, that's 7, I was like, well, there's some editorial prerogative here, right? I can count what's on the screen. I could say, no, I'm going to count the whole the whole qualified file name. I'm gonna, and it's like, no, this is what I want to count.
Exact path.
Yeah. So I want to count what's just the file name, the base name, and I want to count what's on the screen. So yeah, that's what I did.
Wow.
And I'll say
That's quite impressive.
and vowel count. Yeah, that's right. I don't end with text. This was just to show that, right, it doesn't have to be at the end. There's an I in I, there's an O in don't, an E in and, an I in with, and an O in log, so that's 5. And the others are a lot easier to count, abc.text, out.text as 2. So they're correct. So let's look at this code. For grins. See, I closed it to make sure I didn't flash it during the video. We're too early here. And apparently I don't have the folder open, so 1 moment. Oh, files are down here. Well, I've had other stuff open. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, I think this one does have some bugs still. Let me see. If I enter that, yeah, there's an error message, not empty, enter type right, which filtering by here directory files in. So I should have put comma Dan at the end of every one of these. But I think that,
Why do you hate me so?
I don't know. Well, this might not be a bug. If I type a question mark, I get them all. But that from a wildcard point of view, that makes sense, doesn't it? They all have at least 1 character. I might have put that on the bugs list and then later thought, is that a bug?
You did put it on the book.
Yeah, same thing with the asterisk. I guess it just depends if you want this to happen, right? Question mark, it's regex. It's fine, but I don't think I used a regex option. So if I put in a dot, I get everything. Do I get the txt file? This txt file didn't have a dot. Oh, I do. So this is some kind of unexpected behavior, I would say. Because like the star by itself returned, I think that returns everything. So let me try to explain what I'm thinking. Here's an asterisk. Asterisk by itself in regex is invalid because it's what's called a quantifier. It means any number of times, 0 or more. But it modifies the thing before it. And what we're going to get is asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. We put 2 asterisks around this, and none of them are quantifying anything. So it's an invalid regex. So if it's regex, it shouldn't work. If it's not a regex, we should get everything, right? And so we'll do this, and we get everything. And sorry. There's the asterisk, and we know we're getting everything. I'm going to use this kind of as a bellwether. We've got that one that's starts with a capital letter, doesn't have any dots in it, and the other one that's a little weird. There's a couple of them that don't have that have white space in them. So, and then we've got a bunch of kind of more normal files with dots and extensions. To me, that doesn't work in my mind with this. So that's behaving as though it's not a regex, because it would break if it was a regex. This, a dot, if it's not a regex, it should only return files that have a dot in them, right? Star dot star. If it is a regex, it should return everything, but it returns everything, right? This is the one we just saw that had the txt in it. Oops, did I miss? Oh, I missed the screen, so it returned everything. Maybe it's just a Linuxism. Like I think in DOS if you do that. Yeah, so I don't know, unless just so we get something. How about we grep for that? The txt isn't on there, so it must be some behavior with the find command that's happening there. So anywho, let's just go back to this. This is more fun. So this is a weird way to make a comment. How's that? What this is you can look this up. This is in a redirection operator that's putting its text nowhere. You can do this less than and throw it to a program that's on the left side of that less than. I think you can, yeah, and you can do it to assign a big block of text to an operator, or you can just do it to define a big block of text and not do anything with it, and that's what I've chosen to do because there's no block comments in Bash. So there
I'd
you
like
go.
to throw this into the void.
I could have sent it to DevNull, yeah. But
Usually it's what
I'm not really sure what happens to it, to be honest, but I said, oh, I've done this in some other script and went and found it. So then I've got,
The NSA is gonna let you stop sending us this.
yeah, I'm trying to be null over here. So I did this just for my convenience. I like to define all my strings away as much as possible. I didn't totally do this. I wasn't totally consistent, but you know, these are just messages. But I've got like my sort options are here without any white space because, well, over in the buggy version they have white space, and that doesn't work. So file name, and then this one, I want to point this out right now that where it says something like options file sort break, it means when I'm asking them what they want to sort on, if I get any of these options out, I follow it with a break statement. It means I got a good option and I'm breaking the loop. Similarly with options yes, no break, I break if I get yes. Options yes, no, exit, I exit if I get no. So this means my code looks like if the option they chose is option yes, no, exit, exit. Okay, but if you don't know what's in there and you're not used to that pattern, you're like, it's one of those, I've looked at people's code and said before, it just says, if life is kind, be kind. What's good, you know, it's like, it doesn't do anything, but that's the idea there.
Do you need, so for options and then options break, do you need to define both of those? So I need to find one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Only because it's not always, these could be different like they are for yes, no. Right? And there's no exit. So there's only one action that I take, and I take it on every valid choice. But this is the one I use to display the choices, and then I use this one to check for an option to break on.
You can check you can only define one. I have a
Right.
inline regex just to replace the spaces with.
But from a maintenance point of view, if I added another one here,
Yeah.
and it had another action that was spelled really weird, that just bothers me. Sorry. File sort, and then it was like calc break, like I had to do some calculation before I did the break. Right, then I would put, right, and this means I don't have to touch my existing code to do that. So just keep it in classy San Diego. Never saw that movie. So that's kind of the intent. It's a pattern that for maintenance that we're just not likely to run into here.
Okay.
File name delimiter. This was it makes some later code verbose, but actually changed delimiters a couple of times. Ran into some bugs with it. Then I put this in here. This was a lot nicer than making a mistake and coming in and typing set dash X someplace in my code so I could see all this, set X is the one, looks like Henry, you kind of nodded your head, but it's the one that does this. If I say set dash X, it starts showing me everything that happens before it happens.
Yep.
A lot of this has to do with building my prompt, but
Yeah, I have, on my desktop, I have a nice looking prompt.
Yeah.
It took me, I think I just sat down with the documentation and just sat there for 4 hours tinkering with it.
did the hooks.
Yeah.
I use Oh My Posh. It's Oh My Posh dev. And I've been maintaining my own prompt. It's taken too much time, and I was like, by now there used to not be very many prompts that came with, but now there's quite a few. It's like there's got to be one in here I can live with, right? So I might modify it a little, but not much.
Well, it was just the default shell for Arch. It doesn't show you the full exact path of where you are, it just shows you the folder name of where you are. So it drove me crazy. So I have to keep doing PWD to know where it was.
So this PS3 bit has to do with the select command. You can change the prompt for the select command if you change this PS3 variable. When you see PS, and I just got this out of the man page. If you see PS something, it has to do with prompts, usually in Linux. So I saved the old one, which is typically nothing, and then I put it back at the end. And this is where I get my temp file. Is that, yeah, make temp. Make temp is spiffy, but I've never actually shown it to you. So if I say make temp and don't do anything else, it says there's your temp file, right? So that's not really handy programmatically. So what you usually do is you say, I want my temp file the name of it to be in there, and so you say make temp, and you enclose. That's how you run a sub process, and you do this, and now you can say, hey, what's my temp file? You could just echo it, but it actually, there's actually a file there now. So then you can work with that programmatically, and at the end, if you care to, which I did, you can get rid of it.
You can also do like make temp-d, right?
Right, for a directory. Yep.
So there's a game server I was playing on. They didn't give you read-write permissions on anything except for the temp directory. So you store all your files. So on the website,
You were like, yeah, I can fill that.
For every level it was like, make sure you're using make temp-d. Don't and not everyone could see what was in the temp directory, but people were trying to guess what you were naming your directory. So just use make temp-d so no one can guess it. It's harder to guess. Just name it something like hello or as diff, and people would just delete it because everyone had read-write permissions to temp.
So I figured out how to get a bash debugger to work in VS Code. This took a few tries. Yeah. So I'm gonna walk through this so that you can see the effect of the code. I mean, because that's all the setup stuff. I guess, hey, I could have done this I did this, but let's walk through this real fast. Now the somewhat frustrating thing about this debugger, oh wait, now it's working. These are the ones I put in last night. You have to add watches for anything you want to know the value of. It doesn't add hardly any of them itself. It adds these. I know what my working directory is, and I know what my error code is. Those are the only ones that's added on its own. But I can add anything over here we want, and you can also hover over there. That's hard to see with the font being all the same color. But it'll show you. When you see the declare, declare is when you hover over the one that doesn't have the $ when you're declaring it. And then it's showing you, well, this is its value now. Right. So we'll just pop in here. File delimiter, please. Okay, no debug good. Doink. This is where we welcome Dan. All right. So while true, because I'm this was interesting. Here's a bug that I didn't expect. Maybe it wasn't this one, but there was something. Oh, no, it was the temp file. Once I put this infinite loop around it for the user, I wasn't truncating the temp file. And I finally noticed it when I went through a few times. It's like, wow, this seems like it's matching more files than it used to. And I sorted by file name, and I finally noticed, like, hey, this file's on here like 6 times. Like, oh wait, they're all on here 6 times. So I didn't empty the temp file, and I just kept dumping more stuff into it. So the response has to be, I don't know if it has to be reset, probably not, because I think the read command would do it, right? It'll just replace it, but
Right.
out of an abundance of caution, as every politician says. And then the current prompt, so I'm setting this current prompt to the default prompt, which is, I quit stream, that one.
What street?
Because if I have to say this twice, I need the prompt filter reprimand, not empty enter. And this was easy, if it was more complicated, I might have to do something trickier. But basically, if I have to show it twice, I know I have to show the other one. So I don't really think too much about it, but I'll show you how we figure this out. This -z, I thought I had a comment in here. That -z test, ooh, that's much larger, is in my mind, Z stands for 0. Check whether this $response has 0 length. Don't care if it's an empty string, nothing there, whatever, just is it nada? If it's nada, you didn't enter anything I'm interested in, right? There's nothing there, and that's when I reprimand. That's when I've read it, I set the prompt to the reprimand, and then it loops and it gives you the more emphatic prompt that I just put in there, right? So it keeps doing that until you actually give me something that is not 0 length, and then it pops out, and then I put the asterisk around it. Okay. This is just a comment from last time we met. And then I give them the sort prompt, which is that. And this one's pretty, pretty straightforward, right? If they give us the one that says break, and here, this shouldn't happen, but you typically code for things that can't happen, even if all you do, and a lot of sites do this, is log something to some internal mechanism that's going to alert something that your program's broken.
Right.
We have a lot of that. So we have all this stuff and try to make the website look nice, but sometimes in the background, right, we're the registrar, we sell the domains, and we'll be like, yeah, this queue for fulfilling domains, that one for dot whichever TLE is way behind. We know it. We don't want the customers to know it, right? But they paid for this like 10 minutes ago or whatever. We got to get this fixed. And then here's what I did. So I used the find command, and this iname might have to do with the wildcard. So iname makes it case insensitive. All right, let's back up. Yeah. So, and it also accepts wildcards, which we needed to do because of the asterisk. So find at the current directory, that's the dot. You have to tell find where you want to look, or at least you should. Max depth 1. I didn't want to recurse into other directories. It would be great if they went to the root directory and typed in a star, right? Sort that by the number of vowels. Type F, I want to see files. I think you can do any of the types, like character, block, links, whatever, but F and D is pretty much all I ever use, files and directories. Iname is case insensitive wildcard. And so that filter that we got by putting asterisks around whatever they typed is what comes out. And as I mentioned before, it's clever enough to put those leading dot slashes in there. Type file, iname. And let's see what happens here. We would have had this, right, for our mystery. Oh no, it was, and then this is happening to me. I just jump away from the screen sometimes. So we'll look for, Whoa, it's still big. Am I in the same directory?
You're in the temp directory.
Yeah.
You're in not the, but a temp directory.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the temp directory.
Oh, you're in the temp directory.
Well, maybe I've got some bugs. Oh, you know what I forgot?
Dash max depth
Yeah.
one.
Ha. Sounded like a clown's nose. So it's not returning the TXT. I'll figure this out sometime, not make you guys watch it happen. But that's where I get this list, complete with the /, which I decided to throw away, right? And so that's fine. I stuffed this into this thing called files. Well, that's another thing that I want to make sure is not empty. And so -n and -z are complements of each other. And I don't like this. -n means non-zero. It's like, I don't know. I always have to think, that means not Z, right? But then, oh wait, that sounds like, I never thought about that. Is dollar files a Nazi? And so at this point, I remembered, oh wait, I should get rid of the temp file, and then I just let the redirection later recreate it, right? Because it doesn't matter. I have the name, that's what matters, right? So I go ahead and let it recreate when I do that. But and then I use the read command again. You can send anything to the read command. We did read -p to use a prompt and get something from a user. You can also read from a file or read. So here I'm streaming information to read. It has a lot of different uses. And echo-e is an important little twist to see. So I'm going to show you that. It's extra. I don't know.
Awesome.
But first, I've been mentioning these tests, and I think I've only shown you this like once. So remember, I told you that is a command, and I think this is too.
What?
No, there's a way to get it to tell me. It's a shell keyword. And so, which is a command that knows that it should evaluate, or I'm sorry, single square bracket, which is a command also, but oops. Square bracket is a command that knows that it should evaluate everything that follows it until it sees one of these, the other square bracket, right? And double square bracket is an enhanced bash version of the single square bracket. It's better if you're using bash and you don't need to be POSIX compliant because you're going to run on all the different Linuxes, right? It's a better command. If you need to be portable, you should use the single square bracket and deal with its little quirks. And the double square bracket, similarly, it knows to keep processing until it sees double square close bracket. Now, not closed basket, by the way. But this, I'm making a little point of this because sometimes people want to know why they can't do this. Maybe they can now. I'm like, hey, that should have failed. Yeah, there we go. Does this make sense given what I just told you? Something about Linux.
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
It needs the white space to know that that's a command, right?
Differentiate the command.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if it can do this, actually. I always leave white space there too. But then you also need white space here.
I always
I
wondered
think.
why.
Actually, let's push this. I always play with lots of white space. Let's see what we can get away with. Can I do that? Only the white space after the first bracket, double bracket. Nope. How about this? Maybe. Okay, so you can do the operation in here apparently however you want. There's gonna be some of them, I think there might be operators like that you don't have to use with the bash version necessarily. And obviously you need white space in front of that hyphen or else it's gonna think you're subtracting or I don't know.
Right.
So
I always wondered why you needed to have white space there.
yeah, and similarly with there's some of the expansions that you can do in bash, like where you do need it and some where you don't. So like if you do the arithmetic like that, I think that's why you need the spaces there, so that it can tell that they probably have to be consistent, right? It's like we're not gonna write 5 different parsers for separating brackets from the rest of the world. So I wanted to see that. And then the other thing about this and the fact that one of them is an executable that ships with POSIX compliant shells means that if you want to learn about that single square bracket, it has a man page because it's an alias for this thing called test. So you can come in here and these are its operators, -z, the length of string is 0. And if you're worried about how to type that, that's just a glyph in my font. So it's
not equals.
yeah, there's no
Okay.
slash equals key. It's just the way my font's showing it. So and what's it say for -n? Not gonna go too far. There it is.
Non-zero.
Non-zero, yeah. Oh, was it -z? I didn't see it. Is 0. They don't use the word non-zero. So, but if you try to go to the man page for this, I don't think that'll work because that's a keyword in the bash shell. So bash has a man page. This gets confusing. You have to start thinking about it. Bash has a man page, and if you search in here / to search, like it's VI, oh, that's an invalid pattern. Yay. So I have to escape the square brackets. Wow, that looks funny. I think it's right. No. Test. Maybe we just let the shell do this for us. Can I say like info? Help? Well, that worked. It's in the bash, the man bash page too, but that's a hard pattern to search for, so we want to search for something else. Anyway, the help is in different places. I would probably go to Google at that point because I think I just went past my 5 seconds of search patience. In particular, the and or are they have. I think there's some intrinsic problem with the POSIX ones that have the single square brace. I don't worry about it because I use these. So I live with bash all the time. But it matters because all of our friends who are using Mac OS are probably running ZSH, right? Maybe ZSH has this, I don't know. All right.
Kali by default has ZSH. My script has worked so far.
Oh, cool. What's the other thing? Echo -E. You got me wondering what -E actually stands for. Enable interpretation, whatever. Escapes. I bet it stands for escapes. These people have been dead for so many centuries, we just have to guess. So you can do things with variable assignment like this. String gets, and like if you put it inside quotes, you can do multi-line things like this, right? And then if you say echo $str, you'll get back that, which is not very satisfying, especially if you're trying to make like cool ASCII art. Because my ASCII art was very cool, and now this happened. Echo -E is to allow this to come back right, but you have to put it in quotes. There are reasons for this. I can't remember what they are, but and so the E will also let you not just new lines, but you can put in, trying to think, other escape sequences. When you play them back with -E and quotes around the variable name, they'll all work when you echo them back. So that's what that's about. There's also a printf statement, which will let you do kind of a C-like print expansion or interpolation, maybe it's called. It's a more fun word. Expansion, interpolation, more formal. There's nothing more formal than a C programmer. Let me wipe this off my shirt. So back to this. Where are we? Did I type? How did that get on there? Dan, I'm so sorry. And then it's got user bin find, user bin find, user bin order. I'm puzzled. I don't remember what I did. So we're gonna read something, current prompt. By what string? We'll say, I don't know what directory we're in. So we'll just say A. We'll find out what directory we're in, maybe. Maybe I should have printed the directory name. And so the filter just got set to hit star, A star. And then it's going to ask me about the sort. We'll go by file name. So a lot of this is just the same, right? Except that I used, so far I've used all shell constructs. But what we're kind of interested in here is this sort of thing. So now I'm going to use find. And I'm going to jump over it, because otherwise it'll just take a couple steps to pop through find. And so now, see, this is interesting, right? If I hover over find, it says the contents of find is user bin find, which is patently untrue. So there's more in it than that. And if I hover over files, I should say, it's got one entry, bash is buggy -01.sh. Oh, I'm in that directory. And if I go over here, same thing. But I think I can I do this in the default console? -E, right? Hopefully this will work. See, it's not showing, oh, this is just the space, but it's stopping because it's just doing something simpler. So there's more in there. So yeah, it's a debugger for bash. What more could you ask for? So where's the current line in files? Files is not non-zero. It's not zero, excuse me, it's not empty. So we're gonna continue. And we should have an individual file at this, oh, we've got the list of files right at this point, because find got them all. And file name is our sort key. So we'll pop in here, we'll say sort key is 1. Now this will be a little cryptic, probably, because we haven't used sort, but my keys are 1, 2H, and 3H. Here's a trivia question that you could maybe figure out. What do the second and third one have in common that's different from the first one? I'm sorry. What do file name length and file name vowel count have in common that might have earned them the H? I'll even give you a hint. When you see H in Linux, in some contexts, popped onto a parameter, it means make it good for the humans, not the computers.
So those are, they've got more capital letters and space it out.
No. This has to do with and I'll pop down here. What we're gonna do with this is right here.
Oh.
This is the, we're gonna sort, and then there's -k, this is the sort key parameter. And then whatever I'm getting from that statement is going to be the sort key. Either 1, 2H, or 3H. You can use man, figure it out.
Oh man.
5 internet points. Doesn't help with the driving, what is it called? Parole is not the right word.
Probation.
Probation.
Well, it feels like parole.
On NCIS, the probies are frequently the most.
Right.
Okay. Wow, -K, sort via key. Thanks, man.
Oh, the sort documentation is a little hard to get used to. You can just use Google if you want.
ChatGPT.
Hey Google, what's the H for in the sort key parameter for the sort command in Linux?
Somersault.
Oh, look, here's something else. What does the K parameter do in the sort function? I want something more direct.
Results. Good direct.
What does the sort key? What does the K parameter do? I love this. From Linux manual, sort via a key. Keydef gives location and type. This is the question on Stack Overflow. I have no idea what that means, but I saw it being used like this. Oh, there's no H on there. Oh, then there's sort-n-k1.2. It just gets more opaque. Oh, and then the accepted answer starts like this. This is in all caps, keydef, and then the word is, and then all in caps, F, and then in square brackets, .c, square brackets, ops, square brackets, comma F, square, and then, no, the opening square bracket, comma F, in square brackets, .c, in square brackets, ops, and 2 closing square brackets. For a start and stop position where F is a field number and C is a character position in the field, both are origin 1 and the stop position defaults to the line's end. If neither -t nor -b is in effect, characters in a field are counted from the beginning of the preceding white space. Ops is one or more single letter ordering options, and then in square brackets it lists them. B, D, F, G, I, capital M, H, N, capital R, little r, V, big V, which override global ordering options for that key. There's an H in there.
Turing test failed.
Well, that's not helpful. Can you do this? Nope. Oh. So, but I should be able to do this, right? All right.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're styling now. So you'll know this as soon as I do it. Hopefully remember it more. You have to bang your head once or twice to learn some of these things. And you'll see this and you'll say, I already kind of should have been able to guess that.
Yeah.
H for human. We've talked about this in some other context. And I gotta think about this, hang on.
Okay.
Which way do the humans like it?
Oh.
But 1 is less than 2, say the computers, so 10 is less than 2. 1, 0, the character string, is less than 2, the character string.
Actually, shouldn't they just say they're equal?
No. But no, what are you thinking?
1, 0, and 2.
It was binary string, yes. Def 25 equals oct 31. So was it Halloween? Yeah, so that's why. Whenever you see that dash H, it's trying to do something to make it easier to read. And whenever it's sorting, this is just something you should have in your mind all the time. Did they ever fix? They fixed this. Well, that's very large. I believe that. Did they fix it? They did. This used to come up in character string order for the PIDs. You try to find a process ID and you had to scan it like it was a character string. Oh wait, I'm looking for 204, so it'll be after 1800, and it's like. So that's the difference. In Linux, you'll see it. LS has an H. Sorry, I meant to use an L.
LH.
Yep.
Yeah, it shows you the
So it puts sizes in K's and M's and stuff like that.
DU has an H.
GU has an H,
OS, yeah.
and DF has an H, which doesn't have to think so long as DU. DF is the amount of disk space. I don't remember what it stands for, but this is for each file system. How big it is, how much is in use. You can also specify like you want them all to be G's, so you don't get fooled by 700M looking bigger than 50G or something like that. But yeah, DU is disk usage. I'm in temp, so this is safe. It won't take forever.
DU dash
SH.
SH.
Yeah.
Movies. That's what
Yeah.
do.
And and then you can do this. Sort key 1H. To sort on the first column, like you're a human, and you get the big stuff at the bottom. Roswell. Why is that there? Dash SSL. Why is it so large? Roswell is the name of my home network. I think I mentioned I own Area 51.network, but what the heck is this? Doesn't look like something that should be
It's
there.
a very large SSL certificate.
It's a directory. Okay, I'll look that later. I don't know what it is, but at least it makes sense that it's got backups and stuff in it. All right, so that was Echo E. So that's what we're doing with the sort keys. I'm just saying which way do I want to sort the data that I already have in a file. And so when I get there, I think I don't know if I mentioned this, I might have pulled this out of my comments, but one of the things that you should feel good about if you're writing some code is that when you get to the money line or whatever, say, okay, this is the thing that I'm writing this for. This is the reason this script exists. Is that I realized that I got to this point and I was thinking about, well, how am I going to handle the sort keys? I didn't have that previous bit of code. And I was like, wait, if I do this, then all I have to do is the same line of code no matter what. And at that point I was like, I've upped this script. The script now has something going for it. I've done some things right. Because those same bits of code I'm telling you about that you look at and you're like, it's hardly doing anything, If protocol equals TCP, call TCP handler. I mean, there's literally lots of code like that in the world, and you're like, why is this? And it's because they've abstracted the code so well that the mantra is every method should do one thing, right? And eventually you get to some API call or something that does the logic. And I felt pretty good about this. There's this column thing to make it look nice, but that is my main program, that one line. Sort this stuff by whatever the key is that I picked, and everything's in this file, go. And that's what does it. So, and then I just ask if they want to go again. So this is the same idea, but I think one of the points here is that there's a lot of stuff in Bash that can make your life easier. And the kind of, I don't know, bash equivalent of the word like Pythonic, if they have a special word for idiomatic, like this is the way we usually do things. But you'll see a lot of bash code that uses these branching constructs and looping constructs to wrap up bash things, right? So they'll put wrappers around things like grep and find and things like that. And they'll still do looping, like we will still do, you'll still see lots of looping, like what you were doing. But if there's something like, and you saw, like, I didn't think I used grep, but it's, you're young, you might next time.
I thought, no, that's cheating, I should just do it, let's just figure out a way to do the language.
But here's
So,
here's the calculations kind of skipped over. I used, so for the file name, I just did the base name command, right? And so to sort by those, I just said, okay, we'll sort by that. That was easy. For the vowel count, I used grep, and so this one I want to show you. This one's an expansion. I'll show you how that works too. So we'll grab one of these files over here.
Oh, that's smart.
There's a lot of them, so actually it can be anything. So let's just make one up.
So you're not even counting one by one.
So file is Henry James .text. I remembered that whole time. Actually, I had to think. Bible, Isaac. I ran through all of this. Okay, so isn't it funny? You always want to do this to. Okay, it worked.
Yeah.
So I took this file, right, and I ran it through grep, and I said, let's find, and I used, I think I did it this way, which that's that same square bracket syntax. It's quicker than writing A pipe, E pipe, which is alternator syntax. Any one of these things works, but it sees 3 vowels. But how am I going to count that? Count the reds, there's no syntax I know of. I suppose you could bust that apart into whatever the raw, I don't know how, I don't want to try. There's some escape codes in there. I could tell it, no, I'm a plain ASCII terminal, and I could force grep to send the color codes to me. Then we could loop. So what I did, every now and then I like to write nightmares.
That's our homework.
There's this option, only matching, that prints only the matched parts of what you're looking for. And conveniently, I didn't remember this, but I tried this to see what would happen. So that's what I want. I only want the parts that match. And then I'm like, but there's going to be more than one part on a line. What's going to happen? I couldn't remember. That's what happens. I can count that. And so if the file name is Henry James, I do this, and then I do this, and I get 3. That's really bashphonic, bashing, whatever. That's a very idiomatic bash. You have all these programs that do one thing and do it well, and maybe have a lot of options on how to do it.
Yeah.
And I say, here's a string, count the vowels, show me just the parts that match, and oh, you did it in a way I can count it. It's also regex a lot of times. Those would be capture groups. They don't have the prints, but they're kind of like capture groups. I'm going on about a regex thing nobody cares about. And but it's not uncommon for regex to show you like one match at a time. So it's also similar to regex. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, done. The other thing I used was what's it called? Can't remember what comes after what's called expansion. So hang on while we find that.
See below.
Now Bash has a bunch of kinds of expansion. They do brace expansion is, oh, and Henry, remind me when I'm done with this to say something about plain LS. There is a a way they like us to do that. I forgot about it. Down here someplace, parameter expansion. And you just kind of have to know this stuff is here. And I'll tell you, I'm not expecting you to learn how to dive into all this stuff. What I'm expecting is that if you're working with a new language, by the way, this is like this is most representative, I think, of what happens at the competition of almost anything I've ever done. Here's something brand new, you've never done this, fix it, right? It probably won't be bash, but exchange, right? We're gonna do what now? So the skill, and I do this all the time. If I'm writing bash script, the first word is bash, right? Bash, return string length, right? I had to do that. I knew where this was in the docs, but kind of faster to ask Google if I can't find this right away. But let's see, is it on there right? This should start with a pound sign. They could look for the answer, but what's the fun in that? Here we go. Parameter length. When they say parameter, they think variable. Okay, so this is a way to expand a variable. You see there's a $sign there. Whoops. Alt key. That's a $sign, obviously. And the parameter is a variable name. It's a parameter to the shell. And all they're saying is put curly braces around it, and then you can decorate it with all this ugly punctuation. And one of the simplest ones is if you put a pound sign in front of it, it will return the length magically. And so all I had to do to get the length, whoops, right here, was to say I wanted to see, well, it's not going to autofill that. Did I type it wrong? I did. What have I done wrong? Oh, it's called file. There we go. And it gave me an extra one. It says 15. So that's where I got the lengths. Simple is easy, easy is good, good is early lunch break. It's like, but the best thing about doing these things is that I'm not having to reinvent stuff that's already there. And that's the kind of thing, you just, the more you work with it, the more you find out. But, the other thing is, you ask yourself, well, I know how to code in C# or Java or Python or Golang or something. You say, if I was going to do it in that language, well, there's a length function or method or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I should look for one in this new language I've never seen before, because perfectly rational people code in this, and it might have jumped up and down for 2 years till they got one, right? So go to Google, ask Google, is there a way to get the length of a string? Now, it's really disheartening that you can't do this. It's trying to do a substitution of a variable in there. So you have to actually, I'm not sure, maybe there's a way to do this for a string, but you can always pop the string into a variable and do it that way. So
Time is money, money is
cheap.
yeah, cheap, money is cheap. What is cheap?
There's too much of it.
No, time is money, time is money, money is power, power is pizza, pizza is knowledge.
The book I read, they say they proved that, I might have said this last year, sorry. They proved that they're certain that colleges are a vast repository of knowledge, because kids get out of high school and they go there knowing everything, and then they leave and they don't know a darn thing. So obviously they left all the knowledge at college. So maybe college is not such a good idea. Like, know everything already.
Our group has a cyber program starting up next year.
Yeah.
Who did that?
LS, Bear LS.
Says
Thanks for reminding me.
I have like 10 seconds left in my reminder program.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah, there it goes. Remind Chris about playing LS.
There you go.
It's just clear and sleep 120 and echo.
So the thing to do instead of barrel-less is to glob. And I thought I saw it right here. Doesn't matter. So like if I'm in this this temp directory and I want to see, I don't know where these came from, all of my scaling files.
Scaling malloc init.
Yeah. And instead of saying like files equals ls scaling lop, right? I hope they're there now. And then saying for, file in files or whatever.
You can just do for I in /scaling star, right?
Yeah, and that's the preferred thing is to use globbing whenever it's gonna work for you. Is to do this. And it's worth, sound like you're aware of this, but it's worth reading up on. And like for one thing,
Do you have to put? Oh, I guess you don't. I'm used to doing / and scaling.
Oh.
Star, but
Yeah, it's going to be the same here. I'm a fan of the / though. Yeah, it's explicit. And as the Tao of Python says, explicit is better than implicit. You know about I've showed you guys that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Tenets of a type of Python language.
Oh, apparently I don't know how to do that. So there's two of these. So if I were to say this, right? There's a problem here, right?
LS returns a string, not an array. So
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, right? If I say for f in because it's the glob is getting a file at a time. Yeah. So there are some things that globbing fixes that are otherwise vexing.
yeah, I don't. Again, I wrote my solution at 12:30
Exactly.
last night.
That's
so
my job, though. I'm here to
Right.
inform,
I
protect, and serve.
I was aware of that, but I guess the coffee kicked it out of my mind. So,
That happens. So,
you become so smart that you forget everything.
there's a Larry Norman song. They say to cut my hair, driving me insane. I grew it out long to make room for my brain. It's not, but
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one.
no. He's one of the Jesus people in the 70s.
Okay.
He was funny. And a little cutting sometimes, a little acerbic, I think is the word I heard him use.
Okay.
So that was kind of a whirlwind. The Michael, you've been quiet, polite, following along, I think.
Yes.
Noticed appropriate. But you have any questions?
Thoughts, comments, concerns?
What was that part in the middle?
Yeah.
Back to that list, that markdown file. It's a lot. The idea was to look at, bash matters. I mean, because unless they do what they did 2 years ago and say, Linux, never heard of it, here's Windows. But, well, you could still do stuff in WSL. It'd be a stretch probably. I'm thinking we'll maybe do the same thing in PowerShell, and I don't think it'll. Remember I said that it's one thing to go from Bash to PowerShell and a totally different thing to go the other way? I think whoever is looking at this will be glad we started with Bash.
Right.
So I think we'll be able to do PowerShell during class and then go out for pizza with the leftover time.
Awesome.
But we're just a couple minutes left. So the buggy version is truly buggy. It's
Yes.
oh, you looked at that, nice.
Yes. I looked at it during.
Yeah, it's
like, all right, first order of business.
This one I
Fix
like.
the options.
Yeah, the options, well, file name works 3 times.
Yes.
I left the debug option in there so you can use that and see exactly how it's going wrong, which doesn't necessarily tell you how to make it right.
Yeah.
Although if I upload this file, you'll have something to compare it to if I upload the video. So, and I've mentioned, right, that you can make these options have phrases in them that actually have spaces if you use them their fancy arrays. And I'll probably stay here just to look at this Stack Overflow. I saw that says that you can delete array elements, but don't know if it might just be a nice write-up of what you did that won't help at all. So who knows?
Yeah,
You used unset though, right?
unset.
They have the word delete in there.
In my little cheat sheet that I have, it says to remove an item from an array. The only thing there is unset. It's just unset, which makes it null, which leads to infinite loops if you're not careful. So.
Yeah. The other nice thing about this is the way it is right now. You get all the files no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, they all have this $sign at the end of them. I don't think that's right.
I'm trying to figure out what that $sign is coming from.
How's this file length? Let's see. Is there a short one anywhere? Probably not. Well, I can count unfreeze though. That's a word. So we got 2 for un, and then 6 for freeze. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and it says 14. Did I count that wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Is it including the
./? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 14. So
It's
apparently the
counting
$sign doesn't count.
Yeah, it's counting.
Either that the $sign counts twice and the / doesn't. Maybe the dot doesn't count here in the middle. They were counting the $sign and the dot and the slash. I would like to point out that the vowel count is correct. I never figured out a way to break that. It just worked out of the gate. So I didn't get that far. So, and there's one of the bugs that if you fix the bug that I put in here, this one, if you fix this first one, that it displays all the files, depending on how you fix it, you might actually have a bug that I really had. But no, but these are the ones we were like, this one's not necessarily a bug, the question mark, right? This one was, but you already, like Henry already fixed that one.
You have a weak bridge. Depending on how you solve that problem, you might still have a bridge.
Yeah. So
if you blow the bridge up, you don't have a weak bridge. You just don't have a bridge.
where's the
Depending on how you fix the problem, you may or may not
all right.
still have a bridge.
And we're done.
The swallow is weak and we need their